Hey there, thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Anthony Gitch, your go to guy for maintaining motivation and cultivating inspiration. Now, I consider myself to be more of a teacher or an educator of sorts, and my subject matter is the mind and how to use it. I want to remind you to take what you like and leave the rest. I remind you of this because I'm not a doctor or a scientist. I'm a lifelong student, and this is how I interpret the various subject matters I've studied and applied to my professional work and personal life. Now, the very first thing we're going to do is talk about the model of the mind that I prescribe to. So there's two main parts to your mind, the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious is your logical, rational, reasoning part of your mind. It's your immediate point of focus, so the part that's paying attention to me right now. It can handle maybe a handful of things at once, and so it's fairly limited in its capacity. By contrast, your subconscious mind is constantly doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things, all in the background and most of it outside of your conscious awareness. It's your emotional, imaginative, and creative part of your mind. Most importantly, it's the part that holds all of your belief systems, your thought, and behavioral patterns. Anything you feel you do without thinking, you can't stop doing, or you can't start doing, that's because there's a thought pattern running in your subconscious that's driving that behavior. In order to make changes to it, you need to get access to it. Now let's go ahead and talk about your map of reality and how some of those thought patterns and behaviors get there. You see, up until about the time we reach double digits in age, we're almost purely subconscious in the way that we're processing and living our lives. We're emotional and in the moment. We saw it, we did it, we learned it. We then formed what we might refer to as our map of reality, or our idea about how the world works. A little later on, we started to develop our more logical, conscious way of thinking, and what came with our conscious, logical mind is this thing that we refer to as the critical faculty. This is the security guard of the mind. When new information comes in, it judges it for truth. If it doesn't match up with, or at least isn't compatible with, what you already have on your map of reality, that security guard will reject it as false, no matter how logical it seems to your conscious mind. Any attempt to change what is on the map is met with the resistance of that security guard, whose only job is to maintain a consistent reality, no matter how unhelpful that reality has become. Let me give you an example. Let's imagine that you're 4 or 5 years old and you're in the kitchen playing and a spider runs out. Your mom starts to scream and panic. Your little mind says that's the appropriate response to those things because that's what mom just did. And that's who we're learning from. And so that goes into your mind and onto your map of reality. And then for the rest of your life, every time you see a spider, your mind produces a fear response. You tense up, your heart beats faster, and you start to sweat. Even though your conscious mind is going, that thing is tiny, can't possibly harm me. All that logical, rational stuff, that's rejected by the security guard because it doesn't match with what you already know. Spiders are indeed scary. Basically, the critical faculty is like an internal Judge Judy. And if you've ever watched Judge Judy, then you know that sometimes she makes some really poor choices. Sometimes she doesn't even give the other person a chance to speak. She's already made her mind up based on a similar past experience, and nothing is going to change it. That's the critical faculty at work. It compares the information coming in, and if it doesn't match with what it already believes to be the truth, then it is rejected as false. So there's a basic model of the mind, but we're going to go a step further here and bring the flow of consciousness into the picture. But before I do that, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on the basics of the mind so that you can have a little bit better understanding of that and its function. Now, we can't really say where the mind exists, but we can experience its effects through how we perceive the world around us. The mind is not part of the brain. It's more a shapeless genius orchestrating your awareness. It's not aware in itself, and it's not intelligent, and it is definitely not who you are. It's more like waves on a beach, always in motion, causing conflicts and choices, a perpetual dance. The fundamental role of the mind is to serve as a tool wielded by your consciousness to comprehend both the internal and external realms. It operates not merely to make sense of the sensory input, but to intricately connect and interpret this information, forging meanings that our consciousness can grasp and leverage to cultivate intelligence. Now let me demystify the flow of consciousness here for you. First, an event unfolds on the stage of consciousness that has some significance to you, so your awareness seizes hold of it. Then this information undergoes processing by the subconscious, traversing the discerning scrutiny of the critical faculty, ultimately accumulating in the determination of its meaning. Third, a corresponding feeling emerges in harmony with the ascribed meaning, a phenomenon akin to the quantum nature of thought. Much like blushing, it's an involuntary reaction experienced instantaneously through your entire body that is outside of your conscious control. Finally, this emotional response prompts a specific behavior or reaction. And so now we've circled back to step one, where a new event takes place. It is at this fourth juncture that we can consciously intervene, initiating changes by delving into and comprehending our emotional guidance system, or our feelings. It's crucial to recognize that your feelings and emotions act as the driving force behind your behavior, and it is your thoughts that shape these feelings and emotions. Armed with an understanding of this dynamic interplay, you can gain the ability to assume more control. Each emotion or feeling serves as a messenger indicating the presence of an unmet need, want, or desire. The beauty lies in the fact that we only need to grasp a handful of primary feelings or emotions in order to enhance our overall life experience. We're going to start with boredom. Boredom serves as a signal from your subconscious, indicating that aspects of your life have become uninteresting or lack a healthy challenge. It prompts you to seek new challenges and engage with activities that stimulate and invigorate you. For instance, insufficient physical activity can manifest as boredom, making you feel antsy or fidgety. In these moments, your subconscious mind is encouraging you to get your ass up off the couch and go do something. Now, up next, we have anger. Anger signaling that someone has or is doing wrong to you or someone you care for. It's a visceral response that compels you to acknowledge the unfairness and, more importantly, urges you to take proactive measures to make it right. Anger is a fundamental aspect of human nature. It's a catalyst for constructive change throughout history. When attempting to navigate anger, you need to remember that if you can't make it right, or if making it right will make things worse, then the only way to move on is through forgiveness. Now on to one of my favorites, guilt. Guilt's an indicator that arises when you recognize that you have engaged in actions that are perceived as unfair or unjust towards another person or something else. It is a moral compass, prompting an internal acknowledgement of the imbalance caused by your actions. The best way to work with guilt is to make what you've done right. You need to make amends to or correct the problem, and if you're unable to do that, then you need to forgive yourself and move on, having learned the lesson at hand. Next, we have sadness. Sadness conveys a sense of loss in response to the departure or absence of something or someone that's significant in your life. It prompts introspection and reflection, inviting you to come to terms with the void created by the absence of that cherished thing. Now, this emotional response can be transformative, and it can guide you through the stages of grief and facilitating the healing process of itself. So now we're going to move on to loneliness. This can be a challenging one because you can become comfortable in isolating, which makes it harder and harder to get out and socialize. Loneliness includes experiencing a sense of isolation due to insufficient involvement in meaningful and positive social interactions. Loneliness is a dynamic experience, encouraging you to assess the quality and quantity of your social interactions. It signifies a longing for companionship, understanding, and a sense of belonging. This emotional state is not only about physical absence, but also about the absence of meaningful connections that contribute to emotional well-being. We're going to keep moving on now to the feeling of inadequacy. It's an indicator of a deficiency in various aspects of your life, be it in the realms of work, marriage, sex, or whatever. It tells you that your performance or fulfillment in that particular area falls short of your personal expectations or of societal standards. It motivates you to identify areas for improvement and growth. Addressing inadequacy involves a proactive commitment to personal development and the pursuit of fulfillment in the identified areas of deficiency. It encourages setting realistic goals, acquiring new skills, or seeking support and guidance, and fostering a mindset of continuous improvement. Now, here's one most people jump on board with daily: stress. Stress is signaling that you're dealing with an overwhelming workload coupled with insufficient resources to finish, creating an imbalance between the demand placed on you and the available means to meet them. Stress is encouraging you to assess your priorities, streamline tasks, and explore effective strategies for managing the demands placed on you. And finally, for the primary feelings, we have fear. Fear is your primal alert system, signaling you that you are detecting a potential threat or danger in your immediate environment. It promotes heightened vigilance and awareness. Fear can manifest in response to various types of dangers, encompassing the physical, the emotional, real, or even the unreal or perceived realms. Whether faced with an immediate tangible threat or navigating the complexities of emotional challenges, fear forces you to acknowledge and respond to the perceived risk. Let's go ahead and talk about the secondary feeling of frustration real quick. Frustration suggests one of two potential scenarios. First, it may signify an attempt to divert attention away from an underlying and possibly uncomfortable emotion, avoiding. In this context, frustration acts as a surface-level response, making a deeper, less apparent feeling that you may find challenging to confront directly, easier to deal with. Second, frustration can signal a realization that your current efforts or actions are proving ineffective. It suggests a sense of impediment or blockage in achieving the desired results or outcomes, triggering a state of emotional upset. And then finally, we have the tertiary feeling of depression. Depression is an indicator that the current course of action or coping mechanisms has proven ineffective, and the accompanying frustration has reached a level of intensity that leads to a cessation of efforts. It represents a profound internal struggle usually accompanied by a sense of hopelessness and a pervasive feeling of being trapped. We're going to wrap this up a little bit with talk about distractions for a moment, because we all know about distractions. I know I do for sure. It's no problem for me to come up with 10 projects that need to get done before I finish the hard part of the project I'm currently working on. We all get like that sometimes. But when you enter a state of distracting because of a bad feeling, that's different. Let me explain. Let's say you find yourself in a low mood, so you reach for a cupcake, and momentarily, it provides a fleeting sense of comfort. However, this temporary relief leads to a cycle of dependency. Subsequently, because the one cupcake seemed to alleviate your distress before, you decide to have 2 cupcakes this next time. While this initially provides a short-lived improvement, the cycle repeats when another challenging event occurs. The reoccurrence of the original unpleasant feeling causes frustration, as the coping mechanism, eating the cupcakes, fails to bring any kind of lasting relief. Despite the realization that this method is ineffective, the association between eating cupcakes and feeling better persists, leading to a continuous self-perpetuating loop. The escalating consumption intensifies the frustration, contributing to a downward spiral. The repeated attempts to use cupcakes as a remedy result in diminishing returns, leaving you unsatisfied and eventually entering a state of depression. Recovery from this cycle requires time for the body, mind, and spirit to heal. Upon recuperation, there's a renewed commitment to addressing the root causes of the distress and finding healthier coping mechanisms, breaking free from the unsustainable reliance on cupcakes for emotional relief. So there you have it. Now you have a better understanding of your emotions and why you may do some of the things you do. Remember, if you can't right a wrong done by you or to you, then the only option you have is to forgive either yourself or them and move on. I trust that you have found this information engaging and value, and keep in mind that I'm here for any kind of questions that you might have. I love to answer those kind of questions, and we'll do so at any time you send them to me. I'm here to help you do more than achieve. I'm here to help you excel. Feel free to reach out and give me a call anytime you want. Bye-bye.